Hello, I'm Lavanya Prasad, and you are watching Dandanaka Series Edition 10. And today we are going to talk about eclipses, stories about eclipses, mythology about eclipses from around the world. I'm very excited to share what I have found, and I'm sure you would be excited and thrilled to know more about what the world thinks about the eclipses. Without any further ado, to the first story. The king of the world of darkness was not very happy. Ha! It was so gloomy, so dark. He was the king of the underworld, but there is no light here. It was so weary that he yearned for light. And so he called what he thought was very fast moving and very ferocious his fire dogs, and they were called the Bulgays. Now he called one of the Bulgay and he said, I want you to go and fetch the sun for me. If not the sun, at least some light from the sun. Now off you go. The fire dogs ran really fast, chasing the sun, but they were never able to go anywhere close. But when one fire dog finally went and caught hold of the sun's rays, his mouth burned of the heat, and he came back running to the Lord of the darkness, the Gamangnara. That is what the place was called. He said, I'm not able to do it. I'm sorry. Look, my mouth is burned. The sun is too hot for me. That does not matter to me anymore. If the sun is hot, go fetch light from the moon. If you can't do it, let me send another Bulgay, he said. And off went another Bulgay in search of the light from the moon. He ran after the moon day after day, day after day, day after day. And when finally he was able to go and bite the moon, it was too cold for him. His mouth froze. He just left it like that and he came running to the king of darkness. And he said, no, it's not possible with the moon either. Because the moon is too cold for me. Can you see my mouth? It is frozen. Forget about the light. If you can't do it, I will send more ferocious dogs, said the king. And he still sends, is what the Korean people believe. And every time there is this fire dog, or the Bulgay as they call it, catches or bites the sun or the moon, is when the solar or the lunar eclipse occurs. This is the belief of the Korean people. Rings a bell? Very similar to the Indian mythology of Rahu. Now, to all our non-Indian viewers who don't know the story behind the Indian mythology, I should be telling you this. Very similar to this Korean tale. Very long time ago, the whole world was destroyed, and everything that was there in this world went under the oceans. All the good, the bad, everything. And there was nothing left. But the world has to function, the universe has to function. And so it was decided that the celestial gods, or the Devas, along with their very fierce Asuras, cousins, would bring back whatever went deep inside the ocean. But how is that possible? They will have to churn the ocean. And to churn the ocean, there was a mountain that was kept. A snake became the rope. The head of the snake, which wound around the mountain, was held by one side, and the tail of the snake was held by the other side, the Devas and the Asuras, and they began with churning. Drrrak, 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 drrrak. And they say things started to emerge from the ocean. The good, the bad, and everything else. But when everything came out, there was a fight again between the Devas and the Asuras, who was going to take what? And that is when one of the trinities, Shiva, intervened, and he said, let us divide whatever has come between the Devas and the Asuras equally. But there was one thing that they were not ready to share with each other, and that was the pot of nectar, or the Amrit, or the nectar of immortality. The Devas wanted it for themselves because they thought if this went into the hands of the Asuras, the power that comes over them would ruin this whole world, in fact the three worlds. It should be with us, said the Devas. No, we have been wronged, it should be with us, said the Asuras. Let it be divided equally, said Shiva, and they were made to sit in a line. But the Devas had a valid point. They thought the Asuras might misuse the immortality to something that was not desired, and hence they prayed to the protector, Lord Vishnu, who took the form of a beautiful woman, Mohini, and came down with a pot of the nectar. Smitten by her beauty, the Asuras wooed over her. The anklets, the smile, the beautiful eyes, everything was so inviting that the Asuras lost their minds for a moment. And that is when Mohini took charge and said, let me first feed this nectar to your older brothers Devas, and then I will come to you, my dear Asuras, and feed the nectar with my own hands. Yes, we'll wait, is what the Asuras said. But the clever Mohini, or the Narayana himself, made sure that the nectar was given only to the Devas, and by the time he finished, there was only a small drop that was remaining, which Mohini took it. The Asuras were enraged. They knew that there was something that was not okay. But then there was one Asura who had already expected something like this would happen, and so he had disguised himself as a Deva and sat in the Deva's line. And by this time he had got his share of nectar and was about to drink it. Quickly the sun and the moon spotted this and went straight to Narayana and pleaded him to kill the Asura immediately, so that the whole world will be saved from devastation. Mohini changed form to Lord Narayana, took his Sudarshana Chakra, the weapon that he has, and he swirled it across to the Asura. But it was a wee bit late. By then, the Asura had already taken the nectarine and it had passed through his throat. That was the right time when the Sudarshana Chakra slit his throat. The head and the body fell into two pieces. But then, since the immortal nectar had gone into the neck, the head part of his body lived while the other part died. The head was called the Rahu and the body was called Ketu. The Asuras were enraged by this cheating. They fought with the Devas, but then now the Devas had the advantage of the nectar of immortality. They won, and the Asuras were pushed out of the kingdom, pushed out of the heavens. Sad, right? But then Rahu decided to take revenge on the sun and the moon god for spotting him there and making the Asura clan devoid of the nectar of immortality. To this day, in India, we believe that he keeps chasing around the sun and the moon. And every time he gets closer to them and tries to swallow them is when we believe the solar or the lunar eclipse happens. But the Devas are powerful, and so they get back the sun and the moon. And that is when we believe that the lunar and the solar eclipse ends. Very similar to the Bulgare myth of the Korean culture. Now, not only this, there are various other myths which have very similar stories. One such is also the Nordic myth, and there's also the Slavian myth, which states very similar things, where there is this dragon that eats the sun and the moon during the rainstorms, to keep themselves, to get all the heat from the sun. So these are various similar um, mythology stories that is there around different cultures in the world. In fact, eclipse was viewed as something that was abnormal, because those days everything revolved around the movement of the sun. And when something happens to the sun, people thought it was a bad omen. And various other cultures believed things a little different from what these stories were. One such is the Inca culture, where people believed that there was this jaguar which was chasing the moon and wanted to eat him up. And they believed that the scratches that the jaguar has made on the moon made him bleed. And that is why the moon has got a rusty, blood stained look during the lunar eclipse. Not only that, these people feared so much that the jaguar would come down and eat them as well, because of which during the lunar eclipse the tribe goes out, looks into the sky, and take their pots and pans, and they make loud noises, dun 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 dun, and they even beat their dogs so that they would start howling in pain, and the howling of the dogs would scare the jaguar away. Such was the belief of the Inca people. But whereas the ancient Mesopotamians, they had a different take. Everything to them revolved around their king. The king was considered to be very equivalent to God. So every time there was this abnormality that was happening in nature, they believed that it was a bad omen that would cause a threat to their king. And they believed that as subjects, they should protect the king. They were also very great people who were very well versed in astronomy, and they could predict the time of the eclipse. And so, what these people did was they will bring in a substitute king just a few days before the eclipse, dress him up like the king, and treat him like the king, give him all the luxuries of a king, but not the powers of the king though. And the original king would be asked to roam around in the streets like any other normal citizen of the country, because they believed that the king will have to be saved from the bad omen that was about to happen in a few days' time. And rightly, after the lunar eclipse or the solar eclipse happens, the substitute king disappears, or possibly people say he would be poisoned to death, thinking that keeping him alive would be a very bad omen for the whole country itself. So such was the belief of the ancient Mesopotamians. Of course, he got all the upside was that 1 week or 10 days or whatever, he could enjoy the luxuries of the king at the cost of his own life. So that was the ancient Mesopotamian culture. There was also this other, the Vietnamese. They in fact believed that a frog or a toad was what was swallowing the sun and the moon god. Very interesting. They had animals swallowing the sun and the moon god. But a different take to this, I should say, or possibly a happy ending to the eclipse, is something that the Hupa tribes of the the Native Americans or the Northern Californian side tribes believed in. They believed that Moon had 20 wives, and not only that, he had numerous pets. And pets, as in, they were not the normal pets that we would have. The pets were mountain lions and snakes. And now, have you ever heard of the pets attacking the owners? This is something very similar, because they believe that if the moon fails to feed the pets properly, if he does not bring food to the pets properly, they get very angry and they start attacking the moon itself. And again, just like how what the Inca tribe believed, they believed that the the rusty color on the moon was because of the blood stains that was caused by the attack. But the happy ending to the story is the 20 wives of the moon come to Moon's rescue and saves him from the dangerous pets, the mountain lions and snakes, and brings him back to its full luster and glory. Interesting, right? Wives coming to husband's help. So that is about the Hoopa tribes from the northern Californian side. Whereas there is another tribe in the southern California which believes that the moon papa is, working throughout the year, and he gets sick sometimes. And so the lunar eclipse is viewed as the sick days of the moon or the sick times of the moon. And the tribes believe that they should be praying to the Almighty or whatever they believe in as the superpower for the healing of the moon. And the tribe people during the time of lunar eclipse chant prayers and sing songs for the revival of moon, and they believe that their prayers are answered when the lunar eclipse ends and the moon comes back to its original form. These are the different things about lunar eclipse and solar eclipses that I happen to find, and I thought I will share with you all. But I would like to end today's session with two things that I found is super and very touching and very beautiful. One such is what a tribe in Africa believes. Now, this tribe is called the Batamaliba tribe, and this Batamaliba tribe believes that a solar or a lunar eclipse is caused because the sun and the moon fight with each other, and these people want the fight to end. They pray for the fight to end, and they believe that their prayers are answered when the solar or the lunar eclipse ends. They believe that the sun and the moon become friends again. Not only this, there is a beautiful practice that is followed in this tribe. They believe that this is the time of the year that they will have to let go of all the enmity that they had between friends or relatives or whatever, and renew their friendships and relationships. What a way to think about an eclipse. I'm going to take this as the takeaway for me from this session. And I urge you all to think on these lines too. Such a lovely concept of shedding enmity and renewing friendships. Wow, I was amazed when I read this, and I thought I should share this with you all. So that was from Africa. But there is also another thing which is very similar to the Indian practices during a solar eclipse, and this is from the Navajo tribes. Now, these Navajo people, they believed that a solar or a lunar eclipse was nothing to be feared about or terrorized about, but this is just nature's own way of creating or bringing back the cosmic balance. They believed in cosmic order, and sometimes they also believed that and they always believed that sometimes nature will have to do certain things to bring this balance to order, bring this whatever the confusions to order. And they believed that a solar or a lunar eclipse was nature's way of telling them to pause, accept, and reflect on nature itself. What a healing story. I was amazed when I read this, because don't you think as people we also need to do that? Accept when there is some kind of imbalance in us, or some kind of chaos in our lives. Pause, and probably it is the time for us to reflect and see what we can take and leave from all that has happened. And that is what the Navajo people believe too. And what is very similar to the Indian practices is these people stay indoors during solar eclipse or the lunar eclipse with family. They sing and chant together, just like how we do prayers. During lunar eclipse, we chant Vishnu Sahasranama or Lalita Sahasranama. We stay indoors and they also refrain from eating or drinking during this time because they believe this is the time they'll have to pause everything and reflect and just see how they can create balance in their lives too. Such lovely thing. And they also don't go out and see the sun directly. So these are some practices and some mythological references that I found with respect to the solar and the lunar eclipse. We just finished an eclipse on the 26th of December, and there were questions asked at home by my children, and I thought, why not share something that I had learned with you all too. So I hope there are a lot of nice takeaways for you from this session, and I hope you really enjoyed this. I'm so looking forward to come back with more stories, and I should thank you all. I thank you all with the bottom of my heart because I had always thought, will this, whatever I'm doing here, will it reach to people? And it has. I see there are many subscribers, but when I get calls from people, today I was there in the Bangalore Schools Expo doing a storytime panel discussion with the people, and there was this child, a homeschool child, who came and said that I watch your videos, Lavanya auntie, and I really love them. It touched my heart. And not only that, there was another storyteller who said, I really look forward to the videos that you put in your channel. And what a nice thing to hear from a storyteller, right? And the icing on the cake was when I finished the session and I was just packing things. I get this call from Bhubaneswar, Orissa. And there is this storyteller from Orissa who calls and says, Ma'am, I have called to tell you that I keep watching all the videos that you post in your Telescope Bangalore channel, and I'm so grateful and thankful for that. I'm a budding storyteller. I just called to ask for permission to use the stories that you have shared in your channel with people here in Odisha. I would like to tell them in my vernacular. My God, I was so humbled, and I said, the stories are not mine. The stories have wings. They will have to travel everywhere. That is the whole concept of this session, the Dandanaka series. So please, please take and tell it to people. That is the whole point of doing this series. Something that we say would trigger a thought in you, make you go and find for more. Just like what Telescope stands for, giving a clearer vision through stories. So thank you so much. Without you, there is no us. A very, very happy new year to you all. And we'll be back next Saturday doing stories in Tamil. Until then, it's Lavanya Prasad signing off. Tata, bye bye, see you.